Okay, good talking to you.
See you later, Rupert.
Welcome, everyone.
See you,
See
John.
you later,
Welcome,
Lance.
Kiwanians in the room. Welcome, Kiwanians online, and welcome, guests. There are a lot of people in this room, which makes me very happy. It should make you all very happy, too. You applaud for yourselves. It also makes me happy to let you know I have no announcements that are about people that have died or are sick. Good for you. I'm Michael Brocka. I'm pleased to be serving as a president of the Kiwanis Club of Roanoke, the most active civic organization in the Roanoke Valley. Bill Bespich is on his way up here now to do the introspection, and Harry Zuloff will lead us in the pledge.
Many of you know that my wife Sherry and I are very fond of Hawaii, especially the island of Kauai. We visited a number of times. So I wanted to share today the Hawaiian translation for the word love is aloha. So the Hawaiian word aloha
mute.
is often translated as I love you,
Yeah, I'm on there.
or nothing more than hello or goodbye. Like many Hawaiian words, aloha is derived from a combination of other words and has more than one interpretation. When broken down, the literal translation of alo is presence, and ha means breath. So aloha connotes the presence of breath or the breath of life. My favorite transliteration is the breath that is shared between you and me. Hawaiians today encourage everyone to live aloha as an essence of being, love, peace, compassion, and a mutual understanding of respect. Aloha means living in harmony with the people and land around you, with mercy, sympathy, grace, and kindness. When greeting another person with aloha, there is mutual regard and affection. There is warmth in caring for the other, with no obligation to receive anything in return.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Harry, thank you for the pledge, and Bill, aloha to you. So, Pegram, if you're in the room, you're on the way up to introduce our guests. And it appears we have several for you to introduce.
Thank you, President Mike. We have a number of guests today. And I'd like to ask the guests to stand when I call your name, along with your Kiwanis sponsor. And I'm going to start with the Action Club, which Ken Briggs has been very nice and provided me with a list of Action Club members who are going to be visiting. So let me start there. And all these members are hosted by all four Action Club advisors, who are Mike Loveman. Where is Mike? Mike is here. Mike, Randy Myers is also here. And Bert, Randy, can I get you to stand up? And Bert Boyd is also here, and Ken. So here are the members of the Action Club who are with us. JJ Harper, John Worley, Sarah Ross, and Robbie Hairston. So welcome to Action Club. Then our speaker has brought three guests with him, and I'll ask them to stand up. Christina Trantham, who I'm assuming is your wife, right here. Chandler Mackenheimer and Jay Whitmore. And they're all right over here. Welcome. And then President Mike is the host for two of our guests, Randy Brannon of Roanoke Landscapes. Where is Randy? Right over here. And also Ellison Heil with him from Roanoke Landscapes. Welcome. And then we have a couple guests of Joe Lemmer, who is right here. And his guests are Cindy Muller-Gartland and Montana Kimry. And Joe Cobb has brought James Matthews as a guest again this week. And they are over here. And we have one of our new corporate members here in the form of LOA representative, Robbie Boyd. Robbie is right back here. So, welcome to all our numerous guests this week.
Thank you, Peter. Welcome guests. I'll just add that we have another one of our newest corporate members here today, Sheila Bauer is here. Pleasure to have you as a member as well. So, time for the message. I'm going to get straight to the point. You know, I really don't have much time left as your club president, do I? Consequently, my opportunity to get up here weekly and deliver my president's message is coming to an end. Don't applaud. So this message is going to be short and to the point. During the last year, I've worked toward helping you, dare I say, lead our club to this goal that I've titled Outreach. I titled that goal Outreach because I view that as the avenue to sustain us for years to come. And I cannot overestimate how impressive a job you have done of getting on that outreach bandwagon. Thank you. Now, I am reminded of something that Ben Franklin said. When you're finished changing, you're finished. Let me repeat that, Ben Franklin. When you're finished changing, you're finished. So, let's continue to keep the essential elements that have made this club so strong for so long, while at the same time introducing those changes to sustain us for an outreach future. Thank you very much. I assume those applause were because my message was so short. So last week, a couple things just to bring to your attention that will highlight. The book club met last week. What else happened last week? Somebody help me out here. What else? Thank you, Harry. Membership met last week. That's a very energized committee. You'll be impressed, as I am, when you learn about just how many things they're doing behind the scenes to help us with this outreach and membership stuff. Thank you, Harry, and your committee. Coming up this week, the district conference meets in Portsmouth. We have a number of representatives going. Gene Bollendorf is there now. Wicks are going. Montgomery's are going. We thank them in advance for their participation. Hartman's are going. Thank you much. Speaking of the Wicks, Don Wick, each week for the past couple of weeks, has gotten up here and told us about the Ducky Derby. You know, a chance to buy tickets for a raffle for money that goes to the district and then on to children's hospitals. Well, it turns out we're back in first place. Good for us. Perfect. Now, Bridge Builders, right? Bridge Builders is a joint organization between us. Ken, are you here? Between us and Bridge Builders is between us and who? Didn't take the bait. Sorry, I didn't take the bait. A big unity concert is being held this Saturday. Information's on our website. Invite you to go to the South County Library for that event. No, invite you to go. Where's the concert? United Methodist. Thank you. Blah blah blah. Committee assignments. Right, Jean was up here last week. She'll get up again when she's back. Incoming President Jean. It's time for you to sign up for committees for next year. She has already told you that if you don't do anything, you're being reassigned to the same committee. So I suggest you look over those sign-up sheets and get what you want while the going is good. So turns out I'm going to sign up for a few committees next year. Officer installation. Speaking of Jean Bollendorf, we're going to welcome her as incoming president of the officer installation. Evening of September 25th. That's the Wednesday evening. No meeting here that Wednesday, but come in the evening. You'll sign up ahead of time and pay some amount of money and have some good food and celebrate the accomplishments of our outgoing officers and welcome our incoming officers. And blah, 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 blah. No, I think that's all I got. Did I miss anything? Next Wednesday. Yeah. Book club is next Wednesday. Thank goodness there's someone here in this room that knows what's going on. Thank you. Now we have another outreach award. So it turns out that some of you remain active even after you've been a past president. And you remain active for long, long periods of time. And this individual that's coming up to the microphone now has continued to move our club forward, not only with Meals on Wheels year after year after year, but every new member that comes into this club gets inducted by Don Wilson. He's getting an outreach award because just last week, as I reported to you, we now have a new corporate member, LOA, thanks to Don Wilson.
That's really nice, President Mike, but really Ken Briggs is the one that was responsible for this. I just kind of ran along the shotgun and helped and encouraged LOA. Robbie, we're glad to see you here today. I don't know what we're going to do when LOA has perfect attendance because they've been here every week and there's been somebody different. But anyway, we're proud to have you and I'm privileged for this award. Thank you.
We're going to stand for the photo. Your outreach ribbon. And importantly, your outreach pin, which I understand you can wear at ceremonies or funerals.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Every newsletter has a composite photograph in it of all the outreach award winners. Don, if you join me after the meeting, I'll take a photo of you and we'll add that to the newsletter. So I've just bragged on an outreach award winner. Now it's time for anyone in the room who has $2, pick them up here and brag on any subject that's non-controversial that I think is interesting. The money you spend on bragging, and guess you can do this too. The money you spend on bragging goes directly into our foundation, which of course we turn around and give back to the community. Braggarts, come on up.
All right, braggart number 1. I'm Terry Hartman. To do a little follow-up on a presentation we recently had by Nancy Vance on we specialize in the prevention of addiction. You may know, since you mentioned my name a couple of times, Dave and I work together to create the addiction treatment clinic for really. And I wanted to alert you all to something that is of interest to you, somebody in your family, or a friend that you know, and you'd like to learn more about how addiction affects our community, where you can go for help. It's a public event open to the community. There is registration fee, but it's not designed for those professionals specialized in the field. It's really meant for the general community. And it's called the Recovery Ecosystem. Sounds like a fancy name, but that's what it's all about: is addiction prevention and treatment. We held at Hotel Roanoke. And if you would like more information, I've got a flyer today, or email me. It's going to be held September 12th at Hotel Roanoke, and I'll be one of the speakers there. So get in touch with me.
Hello, my name is Jeff Vick and I'm a bragger. Today, I'm gonna take a mega brag and donate, between Ken Briggs and I, $50 to the foundation for taking a little bit over 30 seconds. On your table, you'll see a flyer that is entitled Disinformation in the Digital Age. I know a lot of you, like me, have been wondering, when you read news and information online, what is true and what's at least what is coming from a correct source. This presentation, which is completely nonpartisan, is going to be carried out by two recent William and Mary grads, recent by my scale, which means 3 or 5 years ago they graduated, who have started this foundation to help figure out what is a fact and what is not a fact. If you'd like to come, it's free at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Grandin on September 4th, 2024. And we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lois James, and it's so good to see everybody today. I've been out and really busy and have been here, but it's nice to be back and see so many good friends. So I have a fun brag today that I'm so excited about, and I couldn't wait to share with you.
Your larger son.
I'm finally gonna be a grandmother.
Well done. Well done. Well, in that same vein, I'm John Pendleton, and I'm really here to make more of a statement of gratitude for the good luck my family has had this year. Good fortune, anyway. We were blessed with a granddaughter about 4 months ago, and then last week her older sister turned 5, and the older sister and I had a birthday. And some of you may remember, but the older sister, when she was born, had some serious medical issues and had to have surgery and was in the hospital. But I'm glad to say that she's thrived, and she turned 5 3 or 4 days ago, and yesterday she entered kindergarten at the grade school that her father, grandmother, and great grandmother all attended. Thank you.
Aloha. I have 2 quick brags. One, I'd like to thank Bart Wilner, my sponsor. Let's put our hands together for Bart. Always see him on the list for one of the top members for outreach. So he does a lot of great work for the club. My name is Chris Rouse. I work at United Way of Roanoke Valley. And I have a quick public service announcement from our CEO and president, Abby Verdilio, and I'm going to read it so I don't mess it up. And actually on your table, you have a document that's entitled FAFSA. Do you know what that stands for? Anybody help me out?
Federal student aid.
It's free application for federal student aid. It's very important. It is part of the nationwide Do the FAFSA campaign, spearheaded by the National College Attainment Network. Currently, only about 36% of the class of 2024 across the country has completed their applications. And completing this application is the key step toward post-secondary enrollment. Every student who aspires to college should have the chance to turn that dream into a reality. So please take a look at the document on your table. It will give you a list of locations where students can go to fill out the application, and they can also do it with a QR code that's also on the document at your table. So thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Barbara, this time this way, this guy. Anyway, I'm right, my wife and I celebrated our 55th wedding anniversary last week on the 16th. And stuck with me to 16th. And just wanted to donate the $55 to the foundation. Anyway.
Nice job, Brad.
Nice job. So you're gonna hear from Stephanie Moon Reynolds now. He's gonna introduce our own club member and head honcho for the Salvation Army. And if you're like me, I know I am, then you're gonna learn a few interesting facts about Pat that's gonna impress you even further. Stephanie?
Good afternoon, once again, fellow Kiwanians and guests. I have the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker for today, Major Matthew Trent, the commanding officer of the Salvation Army here in Roanoke. He is a dedicated leader and community advocate, deeply committed to service and outreach. Originally from the Detroit area, Major Trent moved to Danville, Kentucky as a teenager, where his passion for basketball led him to connect with the Salvation Army. He earned his degree in Christian ministry from Asbury University in Wilmore, Kentucky in 2007, and completed his training at the Salvation Army School of Officer Training in Atlanta, Georgia. His commitment to the Salvation Army's mission was further solidified when he met his wife, Christina, through the organization. They have been married for 15 years and are proud parents to their energetic 4-year-old son, Zachary. Major Trentham's professional journey has taken him to various locations across North Carolina and Maryland, where he has positively impacted many communities. Over the past year, he and his family have been serving in Roanoke, where Major Trentham has been actively involved with local organizations, including the Kiwanis Club, to advance community development and support. We are honored to have Major Trentham as a distinguished guest today. His insights into community service collaboration are sure to be both inspiring and enlightening. Please join me in welcoming our guest speaker, Major Matthew Trent.
Certainly good to be here with you today. I've been looking forward to this moment when I got together with Stephanie and I went to my first board meeting where I said, I've got to speak to Kiwanis. This is such a fun group. And now that I'm a member and have been a member, I see why it's so much fun. We get to serve our community. We get to enjoy one another's fellowship, and we get to make a difference to make Roanoke and the Roanoke Valley a better place to live and to serve. Now, I thought, I didn't know how nervous I would be. I mean, I preach every so often, so I figured I would open up with a joke. Is that okay? I learned this joke when I was stationed in Fayetteville, North Carolina, the home of the 82nd Airborne, where a gentleman said, you don't need a parachute if you want to go skydiving. You only need a parachute if you want to go twice. Whenever I evaluate service organizations to serve in, wherever we're stationed, I look at a couple things. The same way that I evaluate Mexican restaurants. I will evaluate the restaurant based on the quality of their cheese dip. That for me is the deciding factor. When I look at the Kiwanis Club, I base it on the evaluation of the quality of the pancake. And I can tell you that the pancake breakfast blew me away. To see the support, to taste the pancakes, to see all the hands at work, I had a joyful time. So did my son and my father-in-law. We scrounged down around 25 pancakes that day. Wonderful. Now, you'll see on your table some brochures that have some information. Here in just a little bit, I'll defer to my wife, Major Christina Trantham, who alongside with me lead the Salvation Army. We are a team effort. It's never just one of us. We take turns. Sometimes we're behind the scenes, sometimes we're out front. But depending on what we're working on any given season, you'll see one of us, both of us, just depends. I want to first thank Ken Briggs and his leading of our bell ringers and organizing the bell ringers through the Kiwanis Club. It's been absolutely fabulous. There's partnerships coming together over the years, where over the last 16 years, the Kiwanis Club has raised over $22,000 for the Salvation Army, ringing just down the road here during the Christmas time on the Friday night for Dickens of a Christmas. And I know the Phoenix Action Club has had a huge hand in helping as well with that. Now, I want to give a brief history of the Salvation Army, and I want to do it in a way that does it justice. The Salvation Army was started in 1865 by William and Catherine Booth. William was a former Methodist minister, and I'm going to have some pictures I'll go through. In London, England, all places. During the Industrial Revolution, when factories were coming up and a lot of work was being generated, people flocked to the East End of London. And they needed to find a place to work, they needed to find a place to stay, and the East End became slums. There were just horrible living conditions. Families were trying to make ends meet, kids were being put to work, and there were truly a lot of destitute folks that didn't have basic needs, their basic needs being met. And one of the things that William took upon himself was to say, you know, we need to reach these people. These people have great need. Not only do they have physical need, but they have spiritual need as well. And so, as you know, the mission of the Salvation Army is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and to meet human need in his name without discrimination. And so while William would go to the East End, Catherine would go to the West End, where there were people who had money and the ability to support the Salvation Army's work down in the East End. And that's how our ministry started. A lot of the first converts to Christianity through the Salvation Army were folks who were victims of domestic violence, folks who were drunkards coming out of bars, as well as prostitutes. And so the kind of folks that would normally be not focused on in society, the Salvation Army saw that our position was to try to do the best for the least, the last, and the lost. And we did that by offering soup, soap, and salvation. And so those are some key phrases that were coined back then. In 1890, the Salvation Army came to the United States in New York. George Scott Railton and 7 Hallelujah Lassies, which are the ladies who play the timbrels. It's not a tambourine, it's a timbrel in the Salvation Army. They joined together and they began to open meetings and gather a crowd by having folks come on the street corner. They would gather folks with some familiar tunes. You know, it was once said that William Booth said that why should the devil have all the best music? Not Larry Norman in 1972, to be confused. But in doing that, they started to rewrite a lot of songs to familiar lyrics, and they changed the lyrics but kept the tune. You mind if I sing one for you? I don't sing very well. My wife's the talented one. But one of the songs that you'll recognize, they would sing this in a bar. Drink down the good old whiskey, drink it down, drink it down. Drink down the good old whiskey, drink it down, drink it down. Here's to you, my brother, I think I'll have another. Drink down the good old whiskey, drink it down. They would convert that to storm the forts of darkness, bring them down, bring them down. Storm the forts of darkness, bring them down, bring them down. Pull down the devil's kingdom, where'er he holds dominion. Storm the forts of darkness, bring them down. And so the Salvation Army is known for having musicians and brass bands and uniforms and all of this. And when I first found the Salvation Army, I was flabbergasted that they were clapping to music in a church service, wearing uniforms and playing brass music. I had nothing to do with that. I was just invited to church one day after playing basketball, and my life has been changed ever since. But when the Salvation Army began to spread across the United States, they eventually made their way to Roanoke. And in Roanoke, Salvation Army began to serve here consecutively since 1907. We first showed up in 1887, 20 years earlier, but it was very hard to get established. We established an operation in Salem in 1891, but we were met with resistance. I've heard since I've been here, Salem kind of does their own thing. That's what people have told me. But the officer who was there at the time conducted an open air meeting out on the street corner, and he was soon after arrested, thrown into jail, where he served for 30 days of hard labor with a ball and chain. That's what's been reported to me. Just regurgitating that way. But that's what happened. And I was flabbergasted when I heard that, because I don't know when the last ball and chain was actually a part of being arrested. Hey, that's what it was. For a moment, I'm going to turn this over to my wife, and she's going to share a few bits of information about what's in our brochure that if you want to pull out and open up, she's going to talk a little bit about our local programs that we have.
My husband used the word flabbergasted a couple of times there, and I am flabbergasted because I've heard him sing before, but this is the first time I've heard him sing where he stayed on key. That's really good. Hey, you're welcome. As I was on the elevator this morning, somebody saw my shield and they said, "Oh, the major is speaking today." But I want you to know that I am the senior major. I have been for 3 years now, and so my husband has just become a major this year, and so we make that joke every once in a while. I do want to tell you that on Wednesday afternoon, when you all meet, I'm conducting the senior program at the Salvation Army, and oftentimes my husband will come back and he will tell me about the wonderful time that he has here with you all. And so I want to thank you for the camaraderie that you all share with one another and the work that you all do together in the community. As far as the Salvation Army is concerned, one of the main features that is known about the Salvation Army in the Roanoke Valley is that we operate Turning Point. And I just want to share with you our statement of purpose for Turning Point, which has been operating since 1986. Turning Point seeks to address domestic violence through services that promote safety, healing, and empowerment. Our goal is to be respectful and culturally sensitive to all people so they feel welcome and hopeful for a life free of violence. Our target population are persons fleeing lethal domestic violence situations that are in need of confidential shelter. I do have a few more brochures if you didn't have one on your table, and you can grab one after the meeting is over. There's information in there about Turning Point, a number to call if you know of anybody who is experiencing intimate partner violence, assault, human trafficking. That hotline is open 24/7. There is always somebody sitting there at the desk to answer that hotline number. Turning Point is a neat place to be. I go there and I do pastoral care with the families, the children, and the women who are there. I brought a picture of my son Zachary with me, our son Zach, who will be 5 very soon. He even loves to go to Turning Point with me. He called it the new Salvation Army because it's different for him. But what I love seeing him interact with the other children there. There's a playground, there's lots of space for the kids to grow and play. And so it's not this scary place. Once people come inside, it's warm and it's welcoming. It's a place of refuge for many who are seeking that safe haven. So that's Turning Point. The local programs and services that the Salvation Army offers, we have church services every Sunday. We do character building, which is our youth programming for those who are ages 4 to 17. We meet weekly and provide dinner for them. The children also have an opportunity to go away to overnight camp in the summer. And once a month, they do a music and arts weekend at the Salvation Army residential camp, which is in Richardsville, Virginia. It's called Camp Rappahannock. formerly known as Camp Happy Land, which is where I gave my life to the Lord at the age of 7 years old. As far as social services are concerned, we daily give out snack bags. Folks can come in and receive a food box, utility assistance. We do homeless assistance, referrals, clothing vouchers, back to school assistance, Christmas assistance, all sorts of things that we do on a daily basis, and seasonally as well. I mentioned our senior citizen program, which meets weekly, and we have lunch served as well. We also have a community center, which hosts many young people who come in for sports clinics. One of the things that I also wanted to mention, a seasonal program, you all are very familiar with our Red Kettle program, but my main function at Christmas time is to oversee the Angel Tree program, wherein we provide clothing and gifts for up to 400 families, which comes out to about 1,200 children. And I know this Christmas you'll support the Red Kettle again. But I will send some angels with my husband as it gets closer to Christmas as well. If any of you are interested in adopting an angel to sponsor a child this Christmas, you might have heard the term angel tree from other places, but it was coined by the Salvation Army in the 70s, actually not far from here in Lynchburg. The officers who were there began the first angel tree program. And see, it's bad having two preachers try to present to you in the same space. But I love to share that about aloha this morning and about how that means breath, because the most ancient name of God, Yahweh, which when you say it, you are meant to breathe in and out, Yahweh, it means breath, breath of God. So thank you for sharing that this morning. I made a nice connection for myself. Was there anything else you wanted me to share? All right, I will give it back to you and your musical talent. Thank you so much.
I am not singing again. And you can't make me. A few things I wanted to show you that I'm really proud of. I love Christmas time. About 90% of the United States and even around the world recognize the Salvation Army shield, mostly through Christmas. Whether it's ringing the bell outside of a local store or seeing a shield on the side of a truck that we run our thrift store program through. But Christmas time is where you'll see us the most, but we are open 365 days a year, doing the most good all throughout the year in a number of different ways. One of the programs that I'm most proud of that the Salvation Army has is adult rehabilitation centers. We don't have one here locally, but we do work in conjunction with other Salvation Armies to refer men and women if they have drug, alcohol, or substance abuse issues. It's a work therapy program that is free to them. And I have personally seen several people's lives transformed by the work of the Salvation Army through the adult rehabilitation centers. When I was stationed in Charlotte, North Carolina, we had a wonderful partnership with our local ARC, had men restore their families and get back off of whatever addiction they had and back into society. I know several men who have come through the program who've become Salvation Army officers after overcoming their addiction. It's been wonderful to see that program flourish. Some of the referrals we would do would either be to Charlotte, Hampton Roads, or Northern Virginia, and we would even make sure that they get there. When we were stationed in Fayetteville, we had a lady named Kim who was struggling with drug addiction. She had 2 teenage boys, and we took the boys into our home for a couple months while we got her to Memphis, Tennessee. Before that, she actually had a lot of stuff on her record we had to work through with the local judge to drop all of these charges she had, all these fines she had to pay. And it was wonderful to see her life turn around for the better. She actually said the Salvation Army saved her life. And I can't tell you how many people can say that, that their life has been saved because they've met a program like the Salvation Army in whatever capacity, whether it's after-school programs, summer day camps, or camp itself. Camp Rappahannock is a camp that's about to undergo about a $30 million renovation. not far from Fredericksburg in Richardsville, Virginia. I get to go and serve every summer for a week, and I get to go once a month to take kids from Roanoke for some music programs. But we have a wonderful time at camp. If you know any kids that don't get to go to camp during the summer, bring them to us, and we can get them there for free. We take them there, they have a week-long experience, 3 meals a day, swimming every day, archery, fun, sports. It's amazing. They get spoiled full of sugar one night when they have a carnival too. That's the day we normally send them home the next day. A lot of people see the Salvation Army out during disaster responses when we have hurricanes, floods, tornadoes. When I was doing disaster work after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, I was just a college student. But during that time, it solidified my calling in life to know that I felt called and equipped, not with all the skills, but just with the passion to serve and to make a difference. I had a lot of personal family drama going on at home with my parents, and I didn't want to be home for the holidays. So during Thanksgiving, I was in Biloxi at Gulfport, serving meals to those that were affected. And then by Christmas, I spent 3 weeks in New Orleans and truly got to see the Salvation Army at work when there is crisis. And between the first responders we were able to serve and some of those that stuck behind, I just applaud what we do on the front lines. When we were stationed in Fayetteville, we dealt with Hurricane Matthew that flooded our shelter and flooded downtown. And it was nice to see the Salvation Army actually come to Fayetteville and help us serve the community. A lot of what I had to deal with was local, and what they dealt with was on the fringe in the counties that we serve. And I was blown away that when you call upon the Salvation Army, an army shows up. We might be small, but we have great, wide abilities that you don't know anything about. If we were to make the call, people would show up and help us. And that's the same for the Roanoke Valley. In Atlanta, we have our Salvation Army Training School. We are always on the lookout for men and women who might find a calling to full-time ministry. Some people don't know where to begin with that type of a calling. But we have a school that we send folks to after they're active and involved in the local Salvation Army church. It's a wonderful campus. It's actually in the heart of Atlanta's worst neighborhood. It's meant to be an oasis. Right next to it is a Salvation Army church, and they do a lot of outreach and evangelism in the community that they're at, and they balance ministry in the classroom as well as ministry in a local Salvation Army in Atlanta. We actually hosted Cadet Richard, you remember, who I brought not too long ago. This is where he's back right now, where he'll finish and then be commissioned and ordained to somewhere in the southern U.S. A lot of you will see the Salvation Army thrift store on Williamson. We just have one store. I'm hoping at some point in our tenure here to have another store because we need a lot of financial assistance. And this is one way that we bring money in to help fund all of our programs, but also to be able to sign vouchers and have folks that need clothing or furniture help if they're a victim of a fire to come and get items like this. So not only does the Salvation Army need your money at Christmas time, we need your stuff. We need you to call us and have us come to your house and pick up furniture you want to get rid of. If in addition to furniture, you have clothes or what we define as bric-a-brac, which would be anything else, we're willing to take it and then use what we have to put back into the community. And we pride ourselves in doing a good work at our thrift store. I'm not even going to lie. Our thrift store is one of the cleanest stores I've ever inherited as a Salvation Army officer. Our manager, Elena, does a great job at keeping products on the floor, keeping it nice and tidy, and keeping the flow of the line when you're shopping nice and smooth. So come check out our thrift store on Williamson Road. I'm not going to sugarcoat where we are today with the Salvation Army in Roanoke. Wherever we have been stationed, we've had the opportunity to see the Salvation Army doing a great work in that community for roughly 3 to 5 years. We spent 5 years in Salisbury, Maryland. We spent 3 years in Fayetteville, 3 years in Rocky Mount, and 3 years in Charlotte as active Salvation Army officers since we've been married. And coming to Roanoke is a big challenge. It's a challenge in the sense that we have no history here. We didn't grow up here. We don't have connections. And so normally for me through Kiwanis, this is my way to connect in the community. Sometimes to make friends, sometimes to find partners to collaborate with to try to make a difference, sometimes to recruit board members from, or find more volunteers from. This is my way to really try to connect. So I love being able to sit over here or sit over there or sit here. I try to switch tables if I can. Because I know in Kiwanis, some people stick to the same table. It just gets funny. But I don't learn as many names unless I sit around. But I've loved being in Roanoke in the fact that we have so much going on. There are so many people that have great need. And we are about to invest about $1 million of our capital reserves into a massive HVAC project to get our main building up and running. I empty a dehumidifier twice a day in my office because of how much moisture is in there. It's not fun, but I do it because I know I need to. But we've got a property committee of 1, have a finance committee of 3, and we've got a board of 8. Most communities I've served in, we have a board starting with about 20 people, up to about 27. So we've got a lot of work right now on our plate to try to grow our board. But what I've done with my wife and our team is come up with a 3-year plan. I have no idea how long the Salvation Army is going to keep us here for. I pray for a while because it takes time for us to get established, to meet people, to know the direction we're going to go, and then to know what comes after. And so this first year of 2024, our goal has been to stabilize the community by doing everything we can to look at what we do and make sure we're doing it to the best of our ability. Peter Drucker once called the Salvation Army by far the most effective organization in the United States. He said, no one even comes close to it in respect to clarity of mission, the ability to innovate, measurable results, dedication, and putting money to its maximum use. And so as we're trying to stabilize the command, our hope is in 2025 to strengthen the command, and by 2026 to be sustainable. We have not finished in the black in a number of years financially as an organization. It's been incredibly tough to make ends meet. Somehow or another, we're able to keep the doors open. But Kettles only gets us so far. The grants we write only take us so far. I know since we closed our shelter a few years ago, some of our programming has gone downhill. We're hoping to build things back up. We have a gymnasium that's underutilized at the moment that we're hoping to bring back up as well. It's got a brand new wood floor. So we're hoping in time to do it. But Turning Point is our main program. This is the first place we've been stationed that we have a domestic violence program. I've not seen this in any other community I've been in. My passion has always been with kids, with after school, with gymnasiums, with sports. And so coming here, this is going to stretch me. I lean a lot on my wife for our programs in Turning Point. We have our general social services that we do, which is generic to most Salvation Armies, and we have our community center. But this 3-year plan, we've included not only our employees and the roles that they face, but also the challenge with advisory board members. One of the greatest challenges board members have for us right now is to help us raise money, but to help grow the board. And we're getting very close to a time when we need to get our committees active as well. So this next year, the goal is to strengthen, to raise more money, deepen our core programs, and add or take away to the big picture. We have a golf tournament coming up. There's more information at this table over here with our team if you'd like to put a team in, if you'd like to become a sponsor. But this is going to be a fun golf tournament toward the end of October. Hopefully the weather is nice. I wondered why there were so many people here today. I think it's because the temperature lowered by about 20 degrees and it gets us out. So it's wonderful. So it should be still cool then. But then also we actually have a baseball game tomorrow that we're selling tickets for with the Red Sox. So if you'd like to go to the Salem Red Sox game for $14 a ticket, it's a small fundraiser we're doing. We have the ability to write you a receipt if you'd like to buy any tickets today. But for the most part, that's our program. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak and to share more about the Salvation Army. And in just a moment, I'll take some questions. Are there any questions? Yep. So the question was, why don't we have more opportunities to use a card at the kettle? I can tell you, I've tried to solve that. There is a solution, but I was 2 weeks late on the deadline. There's a company that we would use called TipTap that allows us to put an actual scanner on the kettle. I'm hoping next Christmas. I'm on the waiting list for this Christmas. But that's a solution that we're hoping to come up with. It's been hard because I know not a lot of people carry cash. But I found that even with the QR code that we have on the sign, you'd be surprised how many people don't even want to give that. So most times there's something iconic about the dollar and the coins. Kids saving up their piggy banks, people putting $1 in and getting their kids to as well. It's something that we all have to look at for our fundraising. But I agree with the point. Hopefully next year we'll have swipey things and the technology to be able to do it. Yeah, question? So what we would be using would be something called TipTap. So if you have your credit card, you just tap it on a little square and it will give $5, $10, or $20 because we'll have things to actually put the card to. Oh, the scammers, yeah. Well, the unique thing is the equipment that we have, it would be leased through another company, and they have a lot of security in light of how the credit card information would be stored. It would be a secure way to give. We wouldn't put something out there if it wasn't secure. I got a question. Yeah, question.
Can you give us any numbers, help us understand the scope of your operation here in Roanoke?
Yeah, so he wants me to share some numbers about the scope of our operation in Roanoke. We have roughly a $2.3 million program in total. Our thrift store runs at about $800,000 total for the year. We've run into a deficit of anywhere from 30,000 2 years ago to about 300,000 this past year. A lot of that cost is really absorbed in staff. Staffing is roughly 60% of the cost. And as you'll know, with the minimum wage going up, the cost of items to be able to give out if they're not donated, inflation has wreaked havoc, I think, on a lot of organizations, especially nonprofits that don't have as many connections to get things for free if we're going to give them out. But those are the numbers that I know just offhand. I'm normally good with reports in front of me. But I know that we're slowly getting better and better to get back to even. We've not had a resource development person on our staff for years. And today we actually have Jay Whitmore brought with me. He spent the last 20 years at Faith Christian School, and I really believe it's been an answer to prayer that we've gotten Jay on the team because he believes in the mission, the Salvation Army, and he knows the community. He's from here. He grew up here. And so that's been one big change in our organization. We'll have someone focused on finding donors, helping with special events, and trying to grow our resources. There's a lot of nonprofits in Roanoke, I've learned. And so there's a lot of competition for money. So we have to be strategic and helpful while not stepping on each other's toes by doing duplicated services. I've never been a fan of doing something someone else does well, but doing something that is meeting a need that no one else is meeting. So that's been one of the things about the Salvation Army in every community that's different. We try to meet needs that aren't being met. Is that good for now? Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Matt. Well, thank you both. And I'm really glad you brought groupies today. It's wonderful to see groupies come for the presenters. So your honorarium is going, really? Is this true? It's going to the Salvation Army? Isn't that fantastic? So an important organization in our Roanoke Valley, now being led by people who I have the utmost confidence in, making it as successful as possible. It's really delightful. There's that word again. Delightful to have you as members of the Kiwanis Club. Thank you for the presentation. Stephanie, thank you for setting this up. Next week, Stephanie, you're at it again. Dawn Sandoval, correctly pronounced, from Least of These, is going to address our club. In the meantime, I sure hope you get outside, enjoy this brilliant weather. We are adjourned.